Okay, so we are reading Aghora, the left hand of God. We are on page 146 of the book and page number 76 of the PDF.
What happened? Kaviraj went directly to his sister-in-law's house to celebrate with a little sex. But as soon as she saw him, she shouted, "How dare you drink bhang and come here? Get out!" He looked at her and said, "But I never drank any bhang today." She screamed, "Don't say anything to me, just get out. I never want to see you here again." And she gave him a beautiful pair of slaps and shut him out of the house. He spent the night on the front steps and had to do without his morning tea as well. The next morning he came crying to me. "Look what that Guru Maharaj of yours has done to me." I told him, "What did I tell you before?" He replied, "You must take me back to Guru Maharaj so he can free me from this." We went back to Guru Maharaj, who heard all the complaints and then said to Kaviraj, "I did it to clean your karmas." Kaviraj said, "But I never asked you to have my karmas cleaned out." Then Guru Maharaj told him, "If you are tired now, take that piece of paper and throw it into the sea." He did, and afterwards he was reconciled with his sister-in-law and continued with his life as before. And whenever anyone would ask him about Guru Maharaj, he would say, "Please, he really put me in the soup. I don't want to hear about him."
So what is happening over here, right? Now, if you want to hasten your progress, then you have to transcend your karmas. You have to get rid of your prarabdha as well as your sanchit karmas. And a guru can actually hasten the process. But to really transcend them, you have to experience them. You have to go through the process. So again, it's like a jhadu marna process, right? You need to clear it out. And whether you're ready to face it or not, that is the main question over here.
After Kaviraj left the room, I asked Guru Maharaj, "When you know these people can't take it, why do you do such things?" Guru Maharaj laughed and said to me, "No, Babuji, that was a yantra I gave him. If he had kept it, he would have broken off from that lady for good and would have quit all his evil ways. Then he would have had to turn to God. He knew so many verses and sang such nice songs. He should have been made a saint."
So again now, a yantra is basically a certain marking which is made on maybe a piece of paper or a piece of metal, and it has certain vibratory frequencies which are emitting from them, which create a certain effect, right? So you can, these yantras are very powerful and all cultures have them. Even Muslims have them. The amulets which are made, people wear the arm, on the arm, they wear it around their stomach. Some of them, the rings also are amulets, like you do a prayer and sanitize the ring, or you empower the ring, and then you start wearing it. So yantras are always there in all cultures, whether like the Shri yantra and other yantras which are there. In fact, each of the Devi Devtas in the Hindu mythology have a yantra which depicts them. The symbolism is there.
It's useless trying to argue with Guru Maharaj. He thinks he is still living in a previous era and he expects everyone else to act accordingly. It is true that when your plans go wrong, you have to turn to God. But that is the old, crude method. No one will put up with it today. Nowadays, only those people who can't be successful at anything else turn to God. Ar samarth bhavet sadhu. A man fit for nothing else becomes a sadhu. But what is the use of that? Still, Guru Maharaj goes on feeding bitter medicine to whoever comes to him. People curse him, but he never bothers about it. Very few will ever be able to understand his play.
Is happening. The the point is that today who becomes a sadhu? Okay, who becomes a priest? The guy who's not successful at anything else. Previously, the priest used to occupy the highest position. The guru used to occupy the highest position in any court. If the guru said something, then the king also had to think twice before not performing the act that the guru had prescribed. Okay. But now, most of the people who are becoming pundits, they have really failed at other stuff and then they become pundits. The other career where people who are not successful in anything are becoming is teachers. So, what is happening is that the quality of the priest, of the actually the person who needs to be educated, and the teacher who again needs to be educated is totally collapsing.
In spite of all this, I still fight with my Guru Maharaj. Once, when I went to meet Guru Maharaj, he was talking to a businessman from Bombay. The businessman was sitting there with his mistress, ignoring the fact that Guru Maharaj is very strict about those things. His morality is of another age. Why? When he came to Bombay and saw a woman driving a car, he was so shocked that he told me, Babuji, now I know Kalyug is really here. I don't know what he would do if he ever saw a woman flying an airplane. As I was about to enter, I saw a lady crying on the steps outside the room. I have done sadhana of Ma all my life, and I just cannot bear to see a woman cry. It is as if my own mother is crying. So I asked her, Ma, why are you crying? She told me, Sadhu Guru, meaning Guru Maharaj, will not allow me to enter his presence today. It was because she was in her periods.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Hi, chef. Okay, so
Then I lost my temper. I stormed into the room and asked Guru Maharaj what he meant by forcing the lady to sit outside like that. I told him, she is only menstruating. I am an Aghori. I worship menstrual fluid because it has the power to create. Though you have performed Aghora sadhanas, you seem to have forgotten all that. A woman cannot conceive before her periods commence or after they cease. So the power of creation lies in that only. Can you create? Not only that, you are sitting here with a woman who is no better than a prostitute, and you have the nerve to tell this poor lady who has come so many miles to see you that she may not enter the room? Who do you think you are? The fellow whose mistress I had insulted tried to protest, but Guru Maharaj told him to be quiet and said to me, Wah Babuji, you have really become a true Aghori now. Your Aghora has become perfect. I only told her to wait outside because I am doing a certain ritual for which I needed to observe purity. That is the only reason. Please don't misunderstand. He just smiled at me and shook his head, and then I lost all my anger also. He is really a wonderful old man. I can afford to argue with my senior Guru Maharaj as well as with my junior Guru Maharaj because they are something different from all the saints and sadhus that you will ever find in India. But even they have to respect my real mentor. I won't tell you his name. I will just call him my Mahapurush because I love him as my own. Even though I have treated those two as my gurus, they have never given me a guru mantra. My Mahapurush is my real guru.
So this is important over here, right? I can afford to argue with my senior Guru Maharaj as well as my junior Guru Maharaj. Now, if you have a real Guru, they will be open to debate. They will be open to discussion, right? They will not give a verdict because if you have some doubt, if you want clarification, if you want to understand something better, they will explain it to you 100 times. If the guru gets angry at you, that means that there is something off in the guru. The other thing is the disciple also has to have that ability to be able to question and to ask the correct question of the guru. It becomes extremely important. I remember we did one excursion workshop where there were 4 people from one ashram who had joined the program. And those of you who've done the excursion will understand when we go into F12, when we go into focus 12, we go into that altered state and start asking questions and attempting to get answers for ourselves. The statement that those 4 made really shocked me. They said that who are we to go and find answers for ourselves? The only person who can give us answers is our guru. Now, what would you think of that guru who is not empowering his students? He is not empowering his followers and wanting them to be totally attached to him or her and not uh, finding out or doing anything for themselves. Now, this becomes a problem when you're looking for a guru. So you have to have, yes, of course, the respect has to be there. You have to follow the guidance of the guru. But to question the guru is something which is the divine right of a student. And if the guru is not empowering the student, then that fellow is not a guru at all, because he is also into attachment, because he wants the student to be attached to him, which is again a big problem.
You know, I have seen all the big so called saints, but none of them interest me after knowing him. If you ask my junior Guru Maharaj about my Mahapurush, Guru Maharaj will say, he is God himself. If you ask my senior Guru Maharaj about him, tears will come from his eyes and he will say, if you can give me only a glimpse of him, I will make you the richest man in the world. And he can do it too. My Mahapurush is 30 feet tall. Yes, 30 feet. His eyes are the size of your hand. His head is as wide as your chest. I used to sit in the palm of his hand very comfortably, as if I were a pygmy, and we would play together. At a time when I weighed 210 pounds, once he said to me, I want to sit on your lap. My God, what a fright I got. I was afraid my bones would break. But when he sat down, he did not have the weight of even a rose petal. It was just as if a feather was there.
So this could also be that he was actually going into an altered state of consciousness and actually connecting with a divine being in that state of consciousness.
My Mahapurush believes in gratification, satisfaction, so that no strain of desire is left. Sometimes we would be sitting in Girnar and he would say, let's have lunch at Maxim's. Close your eyes. I would close my eyes, and when I would open them, we would be at a good table in Maxim's in Paris, appropriately dressed. He reduced to ordinary human size. We would have a delicious 12-course lunch there and then back to Girnar.
So again, one of the ways to satisfy your vasanas is to actually indulge them and to transcend them. Osho also talked about this. Indulge your desire so much that it no longer remains to be a desire. So there are 2 methods in both sides of the spectrum. One is that totally avoid the desire so that it drops off. The other is indulge in it so much that again it drops off. Ultimately, what is the game? To transcend your desire. Now, again, going into altered reality. I don't know how many of you all have seen The Matrix, right? Now, in The Matrix, what was happening? You were jacked into the system, and whatever you were experiencing was in an altered reality. It was happening inside your mind. It was not actually real, right? So again, this could also be where you're actually being transported really, in our 3D environment. Having said that, even this 3D environment that we are living in is technically an illusion. So if I can bend forks and spoons in Matrix, you saw the spoon bending. Of course, we are going to do the spoon bending program where actually the metal gets soft and you can bend it. But the fact of the matter is that when we are going into altered states, then anything can appear. And most of these sci-fi movies have environments where something can be run. A program is running and it creates an environment for you in which you can have a particular experience.
Listen, I'm just coming in 1 second. My Mahapurush believes in gratification, satisfaction, so that no stain of desire is left. Sometimes we would be sitting in Girnar and he would say, "Let's have lunch at Maxim's. Close your eyes." I would close my eyes, and when I would open them, we would be at a good table in Maxim's in Paris, appropriately dressed. He reduced to ordinary human size. We would have a delicious 12-course lunch there and then back to Girnar. One day, I had just finished a tough ritual and I was sitting around kind of bored when he came up and said to me, "What are you doing, moping around like that? Come on, let us have our worldly enjoyments."
So again, it is important to have your worldly enjoyment over here also. The reason that we have come here is to experience things. Now, if you've come here and we are not using the opportunity to experience things, then who's the idiot? You get that? So whatever the universe throws up to you, we need to start saying yes, that yes, I will do it. And then you will find that the ways and means to be able to do something will also be provided by the universe. Because unless you are meant to experience something, it will not come into your awareness only. So this becomes very important. He says, "Come, let us have a worldly enjoyments."
I asked, "Where are we going?" He said, "You be quiet and close your eyes." I did, and when I opened them, we were in Spain. I got the shock of my lifetime. We were both dressed like Spaniards and we went to a nightclub. So many beautiful senoritas were there. We danced the tango with them all night long. All the men gathered at the sides of the club and glared at us. So jealous they were. And La Paloma was playing. After tangoing for some time, my Mahapurush looked at me warningly, and then we went outside and zip back to Girnar. Worldly enjoyments along with sadhanas. What a guru. He is far, far ahead. I used to smoke 20 pounds of ganja a day because I know the mantra which nullifies that bad effects. But he has no need of mantras. No one can know him. Don't even talk about it. When he would sit with the sadhus in Girnar, he would take his pipe, an elephant's tusk, and fill it full of ganja. He would light it and finish the whole pipe full in one puff. Throw the pipe high into the air, shout, "Jai Girnari," and vanish. He has no limits at all.
So again, everything is a vibration, right? So even if you are having ganja, if the vibration of ganja is like this, if I know the mantra which creates the counter frequency, then it can get countered and I will have no effect of the intoxicant. That is why Aghoris, because they knew these mantras, they could consume 2 bottles of whiskey and nothing would happen to them. Okay. Or in this case, smoking ganja and nothing is happening to them. So they use the properties which in the intoxicant, which is taking them to an altered state, but it doesn't make them unconscious. It doesn't make them incoherent. So they have control over their senses in spite of having the intoxicant.
Once we were sitting together in a circle, and one old fakir began to complain that there was no one around who could do miracles like the great saints of the old days could, especially the art of creating gold.
Just 1 second. Hold on.
Once we were sitting together in a circle, and one old fakir began to complain that there was no one around who could do miracles like the great saints of the old days could, especially the art of creating gold. My Mahapurush didn't say anything to him but pointed at the Nandi of a nearby Shiva temple and said, "Get up." The bull, which was made of stone, stood up. My Mahapurush told him, "You've been hungry for so many ages. Now eat." And the bull ate some of the green grass growing near him. "Then drink." The bull took a long drink of water. Finally, the bull was told, "Go over to that old fakir and give him what he wants." The bull ambled over to the fakir who had opened his mouth wide in amazement in the first place. He turned his behind to that astonished old man and defecated pure gold. When he had finished, he was told, "Now go back and wait." And he went back to his pedestal, sat, and became completely stone again, waiting for the next time he would be awakened.
So, so this kind of a thing is there in other cultures also. We've seen movies like that movie uh, where they go to Egypt and this I forget the name of that movie where they go to the Chinese this thing and the soldiers are packed with the king and the Chinese, those people, they become alive. Okay, so in many cultures this is there where basically murtis etc. they become alive. In many of these movies it is there, and if it is shown in the movies, it is possible.
The old fakir had tears in his eyes, but my Mahapurush was gone. His method of teaching is something else also, something quite different. First, he makes you sit down, tells you to close your eyes, and then gives you a good slap with his left hand. You go into a trance, and when you wake up after a few hours or a few days, he is gone, but you have learned everything about the subject he was teaching you. Don't ask me how. Of course, he never eats or drinks. His only enjoyment in life is to smoke ganja. Once a poor girl came to him. Her parents had been beating her because she was hungry and had been stealing food from them. He told her, "Ma, why do you worry? Take this and you will never have to eat or drink again." He gave her a pinch of ash from his bag, and what he had said happened. When I was in Girnar, I met her, and she had never eaten or drunk anything from that day onward.
So again, the point is that you need to be in a state of mind or in a state of consciousness to learn something. And these gurus, they had the ability to be able to make you go into that state of consciousness, which was tathastu, right? We've spoken about this before, but when Maxwell Cade was working with the mind mirror, he found that the energy transference only took place if the brainwave pattern of the receiver started getting synchronized with the brainwave pattern of the giver. If that did not happen, then the transmutation of the energy would not take place. So the Guru Maharaj over here had the ability to shift the state of consciousness of the student by giving him a slap. And when you went into that altered state, a download started taking place and you learned everything that you needed to learn about the subject. Very much like in the movie Matrix, where when Neo and his friend, they were on top of a building and they needed to fly a helicopter. They messaged the guy who was the controller in the in outside the Matrix to download the program to run or how to fly the helicopter, and the program was downloaded and they could actually fly the helicopter. So the same thing can actually happen when you are given tathastu. This transference actually takes place. I've mentioned this before also in his book Far Journeys. Robert Monroe talks about something called the rote, resonant organized thought energy. And he said that when you go into altered states and you ask a question, many times you are thrown a rote and that rote can take some time to unravel in your subconscious mind, and then it comes into your conscious mind. So the same thing is happening over here. The other thing is that we feel that we get most of our nourishment from eating, but the fact is that we get most of our nourishment through the act of breathing, and we can actually absorb the energy from the earth. That's what our rishi munis used to do, where they even used to stop their breathing. So the frequencies which were magnetic frequencies generated by the earth, they used to get their sustenance, all their sustenance from that. And the sun. So we really don't need to eat. We eat because, again, it's a mindset. We had Ellie Tom come to our session, and he said that he's not literally not eaten for 20 years. So, and then there's a video about another old gentleman who's over 100, and he says that he's not eaten for, I think, 50 years or 60 years, and he's still hale and hearty. So it really doesn't mean that we really need to eat.
But my Mahapurush has left Girnar and no one knows where to find him except me. He belongs to me and I belong to him. We are pals.
Now, this is again important. After a certain point, the guru and the shishya become pals, they become friends. Okay, that you need to reach that state of consciousness where the guru has taught you everything that the guru can teach you, so you literally become his equal, so you become friends. And that is also a very good sign of the guru, because if the guru is retaining something and not giving you the whole thing, then that means he is after something else. Okay, so the guru will make you equal to him so that you can transcend him. And that's the another very, very important trait of a guru in my view.
It is thanks to my Mahapurush that I have achieved whatever I have achieved in this lifetime. He has looked after me well since I was born through the medium of Haranath Thakur, my parents' guru. Years before he ever met my parents or became a guru, Haranath was traveling in a one-horse shape through Kashmir when at a stop along the way he suddenly fell down. He knew he was dying and he did die.
So
When he was dead,
Haranath
my
Thakur,
Mahapurush
Haranath Thakur was the person who came and told his father that Vimalananda will be some important person.
When he was dead, my Mahapurush came to him. He never knew who my Mahapurush was. I was told the whole story later by my big daddy. My Mahapurush said to him, "Do you know you are dead?" He said, "Yes." "Do you have any desires left?" "Yes, I want to meet my mother."
So
Then
now
my
again,
Mahapurush,
so what what was happening over here? He had actually flatlined. He had gone into an altered state of consciousness. But Mahapurush could go into that state of consciousness and actually converse with him. So he was going into that altered state and then conversing with him.
then my Mahapurush cut his body into 64 pieces and threw 3 pieces away. Can you guess which 3 pieces were thrown away? The 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. He put the other 61 pieces together again, and suddenly the man came back to life and was given instructions by my Mahapurush. Eventually, he became my parents' guru, and in that way, my Mahapurush could look after me while I was growing up. Haranath always used to tell my parents, "My boy," meaning me, "will move about in fine suits of clothes, and no one will ever know him."
So, where are our vasanas? In sattva, tamas, and rajas. If we remove that from our system, then we will be pure. There will be nothing left in us. We'll be totally pure. So that's what he did to him.
It is only thanks to my Mahapurush that I have survived for so long here in the world. It was he who sent me back here from Girnar, otherwise, I would have never left. And now, whenever I hear La Paloma, I am reminded of him. People have made millions of rupees out of me just by playing La Paloma. Because whenever I hear it, I am overcome with love for my Mahapurush. And in that outpouring of longing for him, somehow the work gets done. I could not bear living for even a moment in the world if it were not for him supporting me. If you had ever lived the free life of a sadhu, you would know what I mean. To have lived free and then to be caged up is enough to kill most wild animals. It would have killed me had not my Mahapurush had some work he wanted me to do. Let any other being in the universe come to me, and I don't bother with them. For me, only my Mahapurush exists.
So again, over here he clearly says, had not my Mahapurush had some work for me. So again, this is also something that many of the NDEers experience, where they go into that altered state and then they are told to come back because they have something to complete in this world, or they have some kind of a caliber, or they have some kind of a quality which is required to help complete a certain job or complete a certain experience in this universe or in this state of consciousness. So they are asked to come back by those guides over there.
Devotion to the Guru. Do you know the story of Meera, the great devotee of Krishna? When Krishna stood before her in all his bewitching beauty, as a result of the method she had been taught by her Guru Raidas, she composed a lovely Hindi couplet on the spot. My Guru and my beloved deity Govinda both stand before me. To whom shall I first prostrate myself? I must pay my first respects to my Guru because it was he who showed me Govinda. Such devotion always pays dividends. Meera understood how important it is to have a Guru, how much the disciple owes the Guru. Most knowledge you can pick up from somewhere, but until you put it into practice, it remains as a mere intellectual understanding. The Guru forces you to learn it. He rubs your face into the ground until you learn it, if he is a real Guru. That is why I say that none of the people you have in America can be classified as gurus. They teach a little to the students who come to them and they collect money for it.
So again, very clearly over here, there is knowledge and then there is experience. If you don't have both of them, it doesn't become wisdom. So he says clearly, most knowledge you can pick up from somewhere, but until you put it into practice, it remains as a mere intellectual understanding. So knowledge will only remain a intellectual understanding, and it is khokla because you really don't know whether it works or not. If you have an experience but don't know what you're experiencing, then again it is khokla because you really don't know what you're experiencing. So you have to have both to really be able to get wisdom.
If you are interested in making money out of someone, you can't afford to offend them, or else they'll immediately run away to someone else. A real guru doesn't care for money. He wants.
So again, what is happening? The guru, if he is under the student, then the guru cannot teach the student anything. So it becomes important that the guru does not have any kind of attachment to the student. And today money has become a big thing, right? Most of these gurus, they are after all the rich people because they want the money from them.
He wants a disciple he can be proud of, and he will tear that disciple to pieces if necessary in order to make sure that certain lessons get learned. Then, when the disciple gets an opportunity to meet a deity or a siddha or some other Mahapurush, there is no question of the disciple making the wrong choice. The disciple's own personality has been so effaced by the Guru, the false EYE consciousness has been so thoroughly crushed that the disciple must make the right choice, and then he or she is made. There is no question of a doubt.
So again, it is all about clarifying your personality. the more you jhadu maro, the more you get away from the falseness that is there, the facades that are there, the more you are able to make a correct and a concrete decision when a decision needs to be made. Because your ego does not come in the way. So you really are able to perceive what is needed to be perceived at that point in time.
Eknath Maharaj was one of the greatest saints Maharashtra has ever produced. His guru's name was Janardhan Swami, and in fact, today people only know the name of Janardhan Swami because he was Eknath's guru. This is the play of guru and disciple. Eknath literally means one master, and that fit Eknath perfectly. He was totally devoted to Janardhan Swami. While still a boy, Eknath heard a voice from the sky telling him to go to Janardhan Swami. So he walked the 200 miles from his hometown to Deoghar, where Janardhan Swami was the ruler of the fort. For a number of years, Eknath served Janardhan Swami faithfully, without being taught anything at all about spirituality. He never objected, never complained.
So, so what he's talking about here is clairaudis. You actually hear someone say something to you. And now, as you do that, as you increase that ability to be able to hear that sound that is being made, or you're being told something, and you start to trust that voice, okay, then you can start acting on it. Now, when we are looking at spirituality, you can learn a lot of things by not doing what you were actually thought you should be doing. This is even in that Miyagi movies, in these Karate Kid, right? The master made him just do like this, cleaning the windows the whole time. He didn't tell him to do anything else. But that became his basic move, and he could protect himself just by doing that. And he became so strong in it, the Karate Kid, that he beat the other children in the karate matches just by that, being able to do that. Okay, so the resilience counts. And then when you are into spirituality, you have to trust the wisdom of your guru also. Now, again, you need to also decipher whether the guru is capable of being your guru or not. So the disciple also has to have the intelligence to be able to select the correct guru. That is where your inner cognizance also starts to play a part. The guru chooses the disciple, but the disciple also chooses the guru. That is extremely important here. So Eknath ji knew that Janardhan Swamiji was his guru. So he was willing to stay there doing nothing because he knew that at some point in time he would get everything.
After some time, Janardhan Swami put Eknath in charge of the treasury. One night, Eknath had some trouble balancing the books. His accounts were off by a single pi, a fraction of a cent. Late into the night, he sat trying his best to locate his error. When he suddenly discovered the elusive pi, his joy was so great he shouted. This woke up Janardhan Swami, who came in and demanded to know what the boy was doing up so late at night. When he was told the story, Janardhan Swami said to Eknath, my son, if the discovery of a single pi which has been lost can cause you such great joy, can you imagine what your joy would be if you discovered God? Eknath replied humbly, Maharaj, I don't know how to go about looking for God. Will you teach me? A few days later, Janardhan Swami told Eknath to accompany him on a trip outside Deoghar. The Swami was riding a horse and Eknath had to run along behind it for 55 miles. During which time he did not get the opportunity to drink even a drop of water. Eknath did not complain. Late that night, as Janardhan Swami and his disciples sat quietly together in a lonely place, an unkempt man trailed by a dog came up to them. Handing a bowl to Eknath, he told him to milk the bitch and bring him the milk to drink. Even though Eknath had nothing to quench his thirst all day long, he was not tempted and brought the bowl back to the man, who drank it down. He then made Eknath milk the bitch again, and this milk he gave to Janardhan Swami. When the bowl was empty, he told Eknath to go and wash it in a nearby stream. Eknath had not been told anything, but he was convinced that the man was none other than Guru Dattatreya, the Guru of the Naths, because Dattatreya is always accompanied by a dog and always affects a wild appearance to scare away ordinary mortals. So Eknath poured a little water into the bowl to wash all the remaining drops of milk into the bottom and then drank down the mixture. Immediately he could see the man in his true form. And yes, it was Dattatreya himself. Dattatreya was pleased with Eknath's cleverness and blessed him. That was enough. Dattatreya's blessings was precious to Lord Shiva himself. So what effect it must have had on Eknath. And this was all thanks to his unflinching devotion to his Guru. If you're out to locate a Guru, it is best to look for a real one instead of all the fakes that are around nowadays. But it is not essential. If your desire is strong enough and your heart is pure enough, nature will teach you herself if need be. Remember the story of Eklavya from the Mahabharata, the great Indian epic poem? Dronacharya refused to teach him archery, so Eklavya went out and made a statue of Dronacharya and worshipped it as his guru. He worshipped it so hard and so well that the statue began to teach him, and he actually became a better archer than any of his direct pupils of Dronacharya. Dattatreya himself had 24 gurus, birds, animals, beings, who didn't know they were teaching him. By observation alone, he learned what they had to teach.
So again, you can learn by observation. And that is where you need to keep your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, sense, all the senses open. Because when a lesson comes, you have to have that conscious awareness to understand that it's a lesson that you need to learn.
However, it is much easier to have a human guru. You must test your guru thoroughly to make sure he can teach you. But once you accept him as your teacher, you must stick with him. There is no use in running from guru to guru. You will end up falling between the two stools. Find one and stick to him. Don't be like the swan who, when her pond dries up, flies off to find another one. Be like the moss which dries up along with the stone which it covers. The moss sticks to the stone in good times and in bad times, without trying to calculate whether it is profitable or not.
So,
Remember,
so the point comes here is that you stick to the guru, you follow the guru's instruction. If the guru is a true guru, the guru will automatically guide you to the next person who can teach you. And this has been seen over the ages, right? You can actually move from one guru to the other, but on the instruction of your guru. That makes it very much more interesting.
remember that when you love a guru, you are not loving his external personality. You have to love his perennial personality, the Shiva consciousness, which he is trying to instill into you. That means that you are actually loving yourself. The self is loving the self. Instead of attempting to love the entire universe, you try to learn to love one person properly because the Atma is the same in every being. And remember that no matter how much you love or think you love your Guru, he loves you much, much more because he has already learned how to love the infinite. He is trying to make you into his own Guru. the one.
So again, going from duality into non-duality. Because if you can love one person and the same ansh or the same spark is there in everything, then you'll end up loving everything. And ultimately that everything becomes you and you become everything. So the duality totally vanishes.
Once a moth circling around a lamp about to make the fatal plunge spoke to the flame. What do you know of love? All you do is stand there as I whirl about you until I can no longer bear to remain separated from you and I embrace you. And in the moment I embrace you, I am consumed, burned into nothingness. The flame smiled and replied, You fool, do you call that love? Look at me. I am burning. You burn only when you embrace me. But in my longing for you, the pain of my separation from you has transmuted me into fire itself. This is what should happen in real life. A disciple may think he really loves his guru and has done a lot for him, but the disciple is too stupid to realize that his guru is absolutely burning to give something to him, to give his essence to the disciple. At first, a disciple is nothing better than a prostitute. He flits from object to object, teaching to teaching, guru to guru, like a fly who enjoys sweets and filthy equally. Little by little, the child loses his taste for the other things and slowly develops devotion to his mentor. Only then does he realize his guru is all in one, one in all. Only then can the child merge with the mentor and receive what the mentor wants so intensely to give.
So what does the guru want? The guru wants that you merge with the guru and then you transcend the guru with the guru. Okay. So again, from moving from duality to non-duality, from moving from the separation to the merger, right?
How many people can understand the play of guru and disciple? Almost no one. If the disciple himself can't understand it, how will some outsider be able to? And this is true of all disciples, even those who may be great saints on their own, like Ramakrishna Paramhans. The first time Ramakrishna Paramahans visited Benares, he exclaimed that he saw heaps of gold in the city. He did not mean metallic gold, of course. He meant the gold of minds, filled with the power of discrimination. When he visited Telang Swami, Ramakrishna was overcome with the spiritual bliss and said openly, I see before me the incarnation of Shiva, meaning that Telanga Swami had so perfected himself that there was no false personality remaining. All had become Shiva consciousness.
So total dropping of the facade, no act. You are just you, right? And what are you? You are that purity, that Atma consciousness. So when you drop all the facade, then you become purity itself, which is Shiva consciousness.
Then he tried to speak with Telang Swami, but Telang Swami was observing complete silence, though he did deign to answer Ramakrishna's questions by means of gestures alone. Ramakrishna repeated, I see before me the incarnation of Shiva, but this is a selfish Shiva, meaning that he was willing to part with any of his knowledge to teach it to others. Ramakrishna was blind to say this. Can God ever be so selfish? God is always magnanimous. If he isn't God. That's all there is to it. Ilan Swami did not bat an eyelid but decided to teach Ramakrishna Paramhans a lesson. After Ramakrishna returned to his home in Dakshineshwar, a village near Calcutta, began to become restless. Now, Ramakrishna was one of the greatest saints the world has ever produced. He achieved success at sadhanas of Jesus, of Muhammad, and so many forms of God. But his success started with a sadhana of a form of Kali called Bhavatarini. He became very restless, so he asked Bhavatarini Ma, Ma, you have showed me so many sadhanas of God with form and also of God without form, but you have never shown me anything of Tantra. I want to learn about Tantra. Send me someone to teach me about Tantra. And thereafter, one day, a woman called Bhairavi Brahmani arrived in Dakshineshwar and proceeded to teach Ramakrishna a bit about Tantra and who she was, a little disciple of Telang Swami. Should we stop here?
I think you missed it.
I missed something.
No, no, it's okay.
Should we stop here?
Yeah.